My life is a miracle. Every child has a story of God's love to share. Shalom World, tune into God's love story.
What are you doing, Katie?
I'm carrying something really heavy.
What is it?
Feathers.
What? Feathers aren't heavy. I should know.
But these are heavy feathers, Coco.
You're being silly. How is feathers heavy?
Because there's a lot of them. Can you help me?
How do I help?
Well, get the kids to sing our song with you.
Oh, but you always start it.
You know how it goes.
Okay. Come and play. Come on, kids. Let's help Katie. Come and play. Play with Katie and Coco. Is it helping, Katie?
Yeah, it is. That's the way.
Get ready, let's go.
Come and play.
Play with Katie and Coco.
That's the way.
Get ready, let's go.
Flying through the air with Coco.
Telling stories with Katie.
You and I together. Meeting my friends. Friends that help us every day.
Katie and Coco.
That help us every day.
Katie and Coco. Play and sing.
Pray and bring. You and I, we do our thing. It's Katie and Coco. Thanks, Coco and kids. Much better.
Are the feathers still heavy?
Nope, I can barely feel them at all.
That's the way they should be.
I saw a saw that could outsaw any other saw I ever saw.
Hey, that's our tongue twister from last time.
Yep. Shall I teach it to you? Or do you remember it?
I don't know, Katie. Should we test it out?
Let's test it out. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Repeat after me. I saw a saw
I saw a saw
that could outsaw
that could outsaw
any other saw
any other saw
I ever saw.
I ever saw.
Good job. Let's try it all together now. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I saw a saw that could outsaw any other saw I ever saw. Nice.
That's a funny one. Let's meet another one of your friends, Katie.
Good idea. Let's go tell a story.
Yeah.
What if your parents didn't have enough money to send you to school anymore? Would you be excited or sad? Some of you would probably be excited, wouldn't you? No school? Awesome! Now I get to stay home and play all day, every day, and I won't have to do any more homework. This is the best! Or so you think. After a few days or weeks, you'd probably get pretty bored, wouldn't you? Have you ever stayed at home during school holidays and realised how quickly you become bored? Sure, schoolwork might be boring too, but at least you're doing something and can play with your friends during the breaks. And if you stopped going to school altogether, wouldn't you feel sad when you saw how well your friends could read and write and solve math problems and how they knew so many things while you knew basically nothing? What could you do in your life if you hadn't learned anything? You'd be stuck doing the most simple and least paid jobs and have to work all the time just to get a bit of money to live. That means no more dreams of being doctors or aeroplane pilots or nurses or firemen or builders or anything really. But if your parents didn't have the money to send you to school, what choice would you have? They would have to work as much as they could, and it would be hard to teach yourself much more than the basics.
Wow, Katie, are there really kids who can't go to school anymore because their parents don't have the money?
In poor countries there are, Coco. But luckily in richer countries, the government makes sure everyone gets an education. But poor kids still have a hard time learning sometimes.
I'm glad birds don't have to learn very much, except how to fly and find food and build nests. We don't need to go to school. But if I were a person, I think I would want to after listening to you. Does anyone help the kids who can't go to school?
Luckily, there are lots of people and organisations who help, and one of my friends was one of those. Her name is Mary Mackillop.
Oh, I've heard of her. She's the only one of our special friends who came from our country, Australia.
That's right, Coco.
So did she help the poor kids go to school then?
She sure did, because back when she lived about 100 years ago, there was no one to help teach poor kids in Australia, so she made it her life mission.
How did she start?
Well, Mary herself was the oldest of 8 children who had to be taught at home because her parents couldn't afford to send them to school. So when Mary grew old enough, she started working to help support her family. Would you kids start working to help support your family if they were poor? Mary almost didn't have a choice because her father found it hard to stay in work and he eventually got sick. But she was happy to do all she could to help.
What kinds of work did she have to do?
It wasn't terrible work, luckily. She worked in an office, as a teacher, and as a governess for her cousins.
What's a governess? Is it a snake who works in the government?
No, Coco. Do you think Mary is a snake? A governess is a teacher who lives in someone's home to teach their children. And in Mary's case, the children were her cousins.
Ah, I guess that makes more sense. But it's not as exciting.
Silly cockatoo. It was while Mary was a governess that she began teaching poor children as well as her cousins, because her cousins lived in a country town where there were lots of poor people. The priest there, called Father Tennyson Woods, was very impressed by Mary's generosity towards the poor children, and he encouraged her to continue because it was a good way of serving God.
And she did continue, didn't she, Katie?
She certainly did, Coco. But she was a bit unsure at the start because she was worried about what would happen to her family if she couldn't work to support them anymore. Have you ever been in a situation where you didn't know what to do? Maybe you've never had to make a choice as serious as Mary's, but you probably will in the future. So what do you think you should do to help?
Maybe ask someone for advice.
Good idea, Coco. And who is the best person to ask for advice?
Oh, I know the answer this time. It's God.
That's right. I see you've been listening.
So we should ask God for advice then?
Exactly. We should ask God for advice by praying, and if we're listening and are patient, we will receive an answer. So it's a good thing you've been listening, Coco.
Thank you. So did Mary pray about what to do then?
Yes.
And what did she decide?
She decided to follow God's call and began the first order of nuns in Australia with Father Tennyson Woods. The order was called the Sisters of St. Joseph of the Sacred Heart. As for her family, she trusted that God would take care of them, and He did not disappoint her. Neither did God disappoint her with her new endeavour with the Sisters of St. Joseph. The order began to grow, with her leading the way forward, teaching the poor children for free, starting an orphanage to look after kids with no parents, and making a safe place for women who had been released from prison. Isn't that great? Go back for a moment and imagine what it would be like if you couldn't go to school and learn, and then imagine how excited you would be when Mary Mackillop's new school opened up and you were allowed to go there for free.
Those kids must have been so happy.
Yes, and I bet their parents were too.
But if the school was free, then how did Mary and her sisters have any money to buy food and other things?
Our friend was very determined to follow a life of poverty. That is, staying poor and instead trusting that God would give them what they needed to live and continue their mission. Mary even refused money from the government when they offered to support her school and mission. She only accepted the small amount of money that the parents could afford to give her, and otherwise went around begging with her sisters for food, or often going without anything to eat at all. However, not everyone liked that she led her sisters in a life like that. Many priests and bishops did not agree with her, especially since she made most of these decisions by herself. Even some of the people in the town she lived in treated her unkindly, as did some of her own sisters in her congregation. But what do you think she did? Do you think she got very angry and yelled at all the people who treated her badly?
I probably would have, but Mary Mackillop doesn't sound like she would do that.
Absolutely not. What did she do instead, kids? What do you think? Yes, she offered it up for Jesus. Always happy to carry her cross as Jesus asked us to do. That's why she is known as Mary of the Cross, because she carried her cross so well.
What do you mean she carried the cross? I thought Jesus carried the cross.
He did, Coco. But he asks us to carry his cross with him when we offer up things that we don't want to do or aren't happy with. The cross represents our love for Jesus and his love for us. And when we love each other, we become happy to make sacrifices and offer up our sufferings. We become happy to pick up our cross every day like Jesus did and follow him.
Ah, so Mary wasn't actually carrying a great big wooden cross like the one Jesus carried?
No, she wasn't. Her cross was the unkindness and misunderstanding she suffered from other people, and also the difficulty of continuing to lead her mission. But do you know what her biggest cross was?
What?
Mary became so disliked that the bishop excommunicated her, which meant she couldn't go to Mass anymore or go to confession or participate in any Catholic ceremony, no matter how big or small. The worst thing was not being able to receive Jesus in Holy Communion. But do you think she just gave up and turned away from Jesus?
No, she couldn't have done that.
Indeed, she didn't. She continued to pray. No one could stop her from praying after all. So she prayed constantly, telling Jesus how much she missed him, how much she wanted to keep serving him by teaching the children, thanking Jesus for giving her such a big cross she could offer up, thanking him for what she had already achieved with his help, and asking him for the strength to continue, and asking him what she should do. For a whole year she was trapped like this, until the bishop finally realized that he had made a mistake and welcomed her back into the church. Can you imagine how happy and relieved she must have felt? What if you hadn't been allowed to see your best friend for a whole year, and then you were finally given permission to see him or her again? We miss our friends, even when we haven't seen them in a day or two. So imagine what a whole year would be like. We would probably be crying with tears of happiness. But since it was Jesus Mary hadn't been able to see, the Son of God, and the one she had married when she became a nun, her happiness when she was allowed to return to him must have been 1,000,000 times stronger. This time, she wasn't going to let anything like that happen again though. So, she travelled all the way to Rome on the other side of the world to ask the Pope to approve her new order of nuns and their mission. Her journey was successful, and she returned home, where she continued to teach poor children and raise orphans. Just as her school spread throughout Australia and New Zealand, Mary's love was spread around everywhere she went and to everyone she met, until Jesus finally took away her cross of suffering and gave her a cross of glory as he welcomed her into his house in heaven.
Coco amazing! Let's ask for her help, just like she asked for Jesus' help.
Good thinking, Coco. Thank you, St. Mary of the Cross Mackillop, for carrying your cross with love every day and showing us how to keep trusting in God even in the hardest of times. Help us to carry our crosses and to do whatever we can to make sure everyone receives an education, no matter how rich or poor they are. Please pray for poor children today and for the Sisters of St. Joseph who still follow your example. And please pray for Australia.
St. Mary of the Cross really was good at carrying her cross.
Yeah, because Jesus helped her, just like you and the kids helped me carry my feathers earlier.
Oh yeah, what's our tongue twister for today?
I'll teach it to you. 12 twins twirled 12 twigs.
What?
Ready? Repeat after me. 12 twins twirled
12 twins twirled
12 twigs.
12 twigs.
Nice. Shall we try it all together very slowly?
Yeah.
Are you ready? 12 twins twirled 12 twigs.
You're a good teacher, Katie. Almost as good as St. Mary of the Cross.
Thanks, Coco. Shall I teach you and the kids some craft now?
I want to see that, Katie. Yeah.
Yay! It's craft time. Are you ready for craft, Coco?
Yeah, Katie.
Awesome. Today, we're going to be making a cross for St. Mary of the Cross. Okay, so what I've got is a big piece of cardboard here and a roll of streamers and a pen, some scissors, some sticky tape and also some glue. but you can use any colours you like. So first of all, we're going to roll this out, and we're just going to fold it in half. Flatten down the rest. This one's a bit wonky because it's been rolled up. Now, to keep it to stick down, we're just going to sticky tape the edges a bit. So we'll get some sticky tape. Tape these edges together so they don't keep popping up on us. There we go. Okay, there we go. There is our background for the cross. We're really going to put the cross with these streamers. So we'll start unrolling it a bit. First bit we'll just snip off, got messy. There we go. Put that to the side. Now we're going to put the cross along like this. And then the other way going that way to make the cross. So we're going to double coat it. So we're going to go all the way around and around again. But to keep it there, we're just going to glue it down a bit to keep it nice and secure. We'll just do a nice thin line of glue up the top. Doesn't need to be too thick because the streamers is pretty thin. We'll just spread that out a bit. We can lay the streamer back down. So that should be the right length. Doesn't matter if it's a bit longer than it should be. So lay that down the middle where the glue is. And you can see the glue underneath, but once we do the second layer, it should be good. So we're going to put that underneath, and then we're going to wrap it around the edge again. So the glue will just keep it down for the bottom layer. So we're going to put that underneath, so that's gone underneath. And then we're going to wrap it around again for a second layer. And we might do one more. So put that underneath again. And then back up the top. There we go. There is the long part of the cross. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty long, Katie.
It is long. And then we're going to stick it down on the other side so we don't see. So we're going to flip it over on its back. We'll just snip off that end because we don't need any more for this one. So snip that off. Off it goes. Put it on the side. I'm going to turn it on its back and just glue down the end bit so it stays secure. Go. That will hold very nicely. You can even put a line of sticky tape across the middle just to make it extra secure. And because it's the back, so it doesn't really matter what it looks like on the back. And there. There we go. That's going to stick on nicely. And now, guess what we're going to do? The same thing, but going across this way. We'll turn it around here to make it a bit easier. And now we're going to go across this way. So we'll get our glue. That was sticky tape. We'll get our glue and we're just going to make a line like this. Another one here. And do the same thing here. Across the line of glue. Wrap it underneath again. And we'll go 3 times around. You can do any amount of times you like. There we go. Snip that end bit off. Turn it on its other side. And we'll secure it down again. And we'll use sticky tape this time. There we go. And we'll sticky tape across the middle like that. Alright, and there we have a cross. And then you can decorate that however you like. So you might like to stick some extra things on the cross or stick some things around. I'm just going to, you might like to write some things as well. So I'm going to get a pen. I'm going to write words from Jesus. He said, pick up your cross and follow me. So that will remind us that we can pick up our crosses daily, just like St. Mary Mackillop did, and offer up our sufferings for Jesus. So how about we do that here? Pick up your cross and follow me. There we go. So now we can be reminded to pick up our cross every day and follow Jesus, just like St. Mary of the Cross Mackillop did. But I'm sure you do that too, don't you, Coco?
Yeah, Katie.
Yes, I'm sure we all pick up our crosses every day and follow Jesus. But now we can have extra reminder.
Hi kids, if you'd like extra instructions on how to make this, you can find it at swpals.org. Also, I'd love to see you guys making your own crosses. So if you'd like, you can send in a photo of you and your craft and upload it on the same website.
I like that cross, Katie, especially because it's yellow like the feathers on my head. Did you choose yellow especially because of me?
Well, that was one of the reasons.
Yay, I'm glad. I don't have a cross on top of my head though.
That would be a bit strange having a cross on top of your head. Lucky when we carry our crosses, it doesn't sit on top of our head like this.
That would be funny, Katie. Do we carry our crosses inside our hearts instead?
Yeah, inside our hearts so only Jesus and ourselves can see it.
Wow! Let's do a tongue twister, Katie.
Do you remember it?
No. Do you remember it, kids?
I'll remind it to you just in case. Ready? 12 twins.
12 twins.
12 twigs.
12 twigs.
Nice, let's try it all together.
Yeah.
12 twins. 12 twigs. Nice.
That reminds me, I've got to collect more twigs for my nest after this.
Oh, you should probably get going then before it gets too late. See you next time, kids. St. Mary of the Cross, help us make God our boss. Come and play
with Katie and Coco.
That's the way.
Get ready, let's go.
Flying through the air with Coco.
Telling stories with Katie.
You and I together, meeting my friends. Friends that help us every day.
Katie and Coco.
That help us every day.
Katie and Coco. Play and sing.
Pray and bring. You and I, we do our thing. It's Katie and Coco.